invitation to come here today. As we are all aware, the TRC have been having series of the Post-colonial Pavilion, and it is geared towards going into our mandate by the CPA to form the TRC of Liberia to find out the truth of what took place in this country. This is the reason why you were invited, and being a member of so many of the groupings that were stakeholders to what took place here, the TRC decided to invite you to come and be a part and also give us your role that you played during this time in our crisis and in our country. And so on behalf of the TRC, we want to once again welcome you. Before I can go ahead, I would like to introduce the commissioners who are here present so that you get to know them. And then after that, we will ask that you also please introduce yourself, say a little about yourself before you go into your testimony. At my far right, we have Shika Fumakone. Next to him, Commissioner Per Bamboo. Next to her, Commissioner Umusila. Far, we have Commissioner Jiwa Koma, and I'm Dede Turope, the Vice Chair of the TRC. Other commissioners will come in as the day progress. So you are once again welcome, and could you please say something small, a little about your background, yourself, and then go into your testimony. Thank you so much.
Thank you. At this time, I wish to introduce myself. My name is Blojhu Jayswen. I was born on April 12, 1949. I was an official of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, PAL. I was also chairman of the youth wing of the People Redemption Council, later changed as special representative to the People Redemption Council. My father's name is Charles Jayswen. He was a school teacher in the 40s and 50s. He left the teaching field and became the greatest hunter in the southeastern region. He was a brave warrior, courageous, and a dependable Zor in Jirepo, Sano County. He was a man with excessive magical power. My father was a man with that kind of power that was beyond the understanding of the ordinary person. He was a member of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia and one of the coup planners. He died without the slightest signs of sickness. He was buried immediately after his death, as the custom of the Grebo tribe required for warriors. His death in 2006 suggests to me that no power is greater than that of God's power. My father was a good friend of mine. My mother's name is Bessie Sapa Jayswen. She commonly known as Ma Bessie. She is a midwife by profession, a religious and church-going lady. Mr. Chairman, that's the brief highlight of my route. Now, to my testimony. Mr. Chairman, member of the TRC, member of the press, ladies and gentlemen present in this great hall, the Executive Pavilion, I have been invited here to speak about the Liberian conflict, the role I played, what I saw, and what I was told. I am here also to chop some of these sticks and let the chips fall where they belong. I will tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. Let me consult you seriously that certain portion of my testimony might appear provocative, but I should not be taken out of context or misconstrued. I believe that sincerity is part of the lasting truth, lasting solution to the Liberian conflict. You see, the tongue is very obedient to the mind, which determines the deeds of the hands. Therefore, not the lips that speaks the truth, for the hand that moves can be more destructive. I believe the Liberian conflict began when the so-called founding father condemned the natives of the country as heathen and country houses, and then proceeded to arrange the operation of the body politics on the strength of deceit, corruption, and wickedness. Yes, wickedness. The conflict is an effort aimed at replacing the old political establishment with new order of government based on majority rules. In other words, we are still bickering over how to make the Liberian government accountable to the majority. This should not be a difficult thing, but the conduct of presupposed existence of the culture of respect for the fundamental principle of democracy values the founding father stepped on that body. I wonder how interesting the observation of Rose Luxemburg. She wrote, and I quote, "The ruling class will never give up its power and privileges willingly. The ruling class will move heaven and hell to hang on. They will fight to preserve the Holy of Holies." She concluded by saying, the ruling class will put the people against each other and will rather reduce the country into smoking of rain than to relinquish power completely, unquote. You can see that for yourself. I am here before this honorable body to tell you the truth. I am not here to present any compliment, but to contradict some of your witnesses who have appeared perjured in an attempt to present themselves favorably to the Liberian people. These people are disinterested in the sustained peace and reconciliation for this nation. If the TRC hearing is to create an atmosphere of peace and that individuals be forgiven for their role in the Liberian conflict, they must tell the truth. The Liberian people are not stupid. They know what we did to ourselves and other people in this country. We hurt a lot of people. I was one of those. Herein lies my interest to appear before this honorable body, the TRC, I am particularly disheartened of the testimony of some of these witnesses whom I respect dearly. In their testimony, they endeavor to punitively wash hands off the death of about 300,000 Liberians and foreigners from 1978 to 2003. They also imply that they were not responsible for the death of the 3 LU students in 1978 during the position of city mayor of Monrovia race between Francis Chuchu Houghton of the Houghton dynasty and Dr. Amos Claudius Sawyer, a professor of political science at the University of Liberia. The death of the 3 PAD members in March 1979 at the exactly mentioned ground. The death of more than 300 PAD and Moja members on April 14, 1979 during the famous rights demonstration. The death of 69 PAD members during the government crackdown on PAD members all over this country in 1980. The death of the 13 former officials of the Tolbert administration right after the coup of April 12, 1980, and the death of more than 200,000 Liberians during the 1989 war, and the death they also implied that they were not responsible for the death of the 3 LU students in 1978 during the position of city mayor of Monrovia, raised between Francis Chuchu Houghton of the Houghton dynasty and Dr. Amos Claudius Sawyer, a professor of political science at the University of Liberia. The death of the 3 PAD members in March 1979 at the executive mansion ground. The death of 300 plus PAD and Moja members on April 14, 1979 during the famous rights demonstration. The death of 69 PAD members during the government crackdown on PAD members all over this country in early 1980. The death of 13 former officials of the Tolbert administration right after the coup of April 12, 1980, and the death of more than 200,000 Liberians during the 1979 war and the death of more than 4,000 of our citizens during the 2001 and 2004 war. Yet, as members of warlords and technocrats who fashioned the martial law and uttered the decree upon which the decision to sentence to death of some of these individuals were based. May God forgive us all, and may their family see reason to forgive us all. Please forgive me for my part. I will stop short of a historical account of how it was made difficult to uproot the old establishment. But I beg, Mr. Chairman, to make a few contemporary citations which should prove relevant to an understanding of the situation at hand today. As a small boy, about age 6 to 8, I could observe chiefs manipulate young men on road detailed without compensation. I watched men brutalized failure to pay hard taxes. When soldiers are passing through a town, young men run in the bush for fear of being forced to carry loads for the soldier. The soldier will demand for food. At times, the soldier himself will kill the biggest rooster in town for soup. On one occasion, my father beat up a soldier man for killing my mother rooster and compelled him and the township to pay for that rooster. On that day, my father told me to fight for whatever I believe in and praise anyone who needed to be praised. That advice is still with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg to make another historical point. Bring another historical point to your attention before moving on. Over the past years, there have been debate, discussion, and argument about the worst president in the history of our beloved country, especially during the 2005 general election. During the 2005 general election, I was privileged to have worked for the Winston A. Tuckman presidential ticket. As one of the campaign staff, I took part in some of these debates, discussion, and argument. I listened to people calling the late President William B. Tuckman the worst president in the history of our nation. They went so far by calling him a dictator. Even the mother of our country refused to acknowledge what he did for this country was a surprise to me. I wonder why she gave our president to a foreign country to be judged in The Hague. Fellow Liberian, I wish to add my voice to many others in defense of the late President Tuckman for many reasons. late President Tubman was not a dictator, but rather a dedicated and a great leader of our country. Please note that leaders have been described as those who challenge, inspire, mother, and encourage others. Others call them visionary and risk takers, and people who see the future and make it happen. President Tubman was that kind of leader. He was the most visionary, dedicated leader of our time compared to his predecessor. Let me give you some reasons why I say this. From the founding of the Republic of Liberia in 1947 until the end of World War II, the government of Liberia lacked sufficient revenue or foreign loan to provide even the most basic service to its people. Little could be done to exploit the economic potential of the country. Without road, communication facility, political security, the Liberian economy consisted of little more than a collection of poor and isolated farming and trading community situated along the Atlantic coastline at Robertsport, Monrovia, Buchanan, Riverside, Greenville, and Harper. Not until the beginning of World War II did production at the Firestone begin in earnest. In 1871 and 1906, European loans were defrauded, as was an American loan of 1912. During President Tubman's assumption of office in 1944, 97 years after our independence, he initiated two great sets of changes, which we enjoy today after some 37 years of his death. The most dynamic change has been the open door policy. By inviting European and American firms to extract iron ore, engage in plantation agriculture, and operate in a variety of other commercial ventures, and concomitantly seeking external loan and foreign economic and technical assistance for Liberia. The result has been the growth in primary production and the accumulation of building, roads and railroads, schools, hospitals, airfields, harbors, and many other social capitals. Since 1944, experience has given meaning and substance of the late President's open door policy. The second break with the past has been his unification policy, reflected mainly in a notable decline in harshness of treatment of tribal individuals. The President himself has visited the hinterland area of the country, listened to grievances and petitions, and removed district commissioners guilty of brutality. Compulsory labor has been made less Liberians, and the appropriation of travel land without compensation is less frequent since the event of the late Tolbert administration. Before 1944, the three provinces in which most tribes reside have no representation in the national legislature. Since 1944, the provinces have been allowed to elect 6 of the 39 members of the House, but no senator. Yes, that was not enough, but he tried. The electoral reform of the unification of policy are giving the tribe an illusion of participation in the government and has improved Liberia's image. Yesterday, we have Honorable Nyandwe Monokoma as Speaker of the House of Representatives. And today, we have Honorable Isaac Nyenembo as President pro tem of the Liberian Senate. Both gentlemen are members of those natives who had no representation in those days. Look at our national legislature today. 95 to 99% of the native of all are all native, men and women. Yes, it is important to note that this effort did not come lightly. The president has to protect the one manifestation of the historic solidarity of the Americo-Liberian community and position of their establishment. But everybody has tasted piece of that pie because of its unification policy. Because of the defaulted loans, Liberia only economic development because of Liberia default loan, Liberia only economic development was retarded by the absence of foreign investment. A $5 million loan to the Liberian government made by Firestone Company in 1927 as part of its plantation concession agreement was finally paid back in 1952, but left a history of bitterness towards Firestone Company. On September 11, 1961, a general strike occurred in Monrovia, first of its kind ever experienced in the country. The initial source of grievance was a major trading firm unwillingness to recognize the Liberian CIO as a bargaining representative of its employees. The government reviewed the strike with serious apprehension cannot be doubted. Its immediate response was to call out troops to disburse of credit of strikers, especially those who threatened arms to workers such as houseboys, reluctant to leave their jobs. President Tolbert directed the government handling of the striker. One of his first actions was to call a public meeting at the ATS to address the assembly workers, gave then an opportunity to air their grievance and tell them the line of action he proposed to take. In his address to the assembly workers, the president stressed 5 points. 1, there exists a legal procedure for workers to register their grievance and to seek redress, which were being violated at the illegal strike. 2, violence and strike are own Liberian and are formatted by foreign elements and foreign ideologies seeking to overthrow the government of Liberia and the Liberian ways of life. 3, the economic development, the open door policy, and the national welfare cannot tolerate strikes. 4, foreign firms have not done enough for Liberian workers. And 5, the government will take immediate steps to root out subversion and to alleviate economic hardship borne by the workers with legitimate grievance. Following the meeting, the president appointed a committee to review the situation and made recommendations to him. And evidently, in